Hey guys, RK3 Designs. It's Tuesday night and we are live and I'm back. It's been 2 weeks, guys, since we've done a live and I have missed you so much. We've had a lot going on. We went to Alaska and had a great time with Deb Wakefield and down up there, over there, I guess, in Alaska, up there, up and over. We went fishing, we went on a cruise. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. But I am so glad to be back. I really have missed you guys. So tonight, we're going to do a kind of a version of a wood grain, but it's not really wood grain. Does that make sense? It's gonna be a metallic wood grain. How about that? And then, of course, we will probably take it to the next level and turn it into something else. Who knows? So, like always, guys, I want to give a shout out to our moderators. I'm not sure if they're all out there. They're all out there? All right. So we have Erica with Artist Till Death. We have Vamp. Oh my gosh, with Vamp of Haven. And we have Clara with Clara Lawrence. And I'm so excited, guys. They are amazing. They're on Johnny on the spot. They're going to answer all of your questions. So please show them some love. And then, of course, the star of this show is my hubby, behind the scenes, Mr. Kenny Dracoulis. We all know that he's actually the star. All right, guys. So if you are new to our station or our channel or our lives, if you'll do me a favor and you will let me know where you're from. And if it's your first time or not, let us know. All right, so hi to all our coming back guests, I guess you would call, our returning guests. And I really have missed you guys. I really have. It's kind of a hole in our week when we don't do a live. All right, so let's jump right into it. So I'm going to kind of tell you what I did when I prepped this board. Leslie and I, for those of you that don't know, Leslie works for me. She basically runs the joint. So anytime you guys receive any kind of shipments, Leslie is probably the one that packed it. And so she and I were at a meeting all day long in San Antonio today with our social media team, The Social Being. If y'all need websites or anything, let me know. They are amazing. But anyway, we got back pretty late, and I had an idea of what I was going to do tonight. But then about 20 minutes ago, I decided to change it up. So that is why I have fogged my edges with black, because I had originally painted this board with a light brown, which actually the actual color was Ethiopia, and it is a Behr product. I used the Behr Marquee paint, and I decided at the very, very last minute that I was going to do this other finish, and so I wanted a darker background. So I'm going to show you guys, this is a kind of a pro tip. You don't have to buy paint of every single color that you want to do a pour. If you get yourself 4 basic colors, what we do in all of our business, we have 4 colors that we use 90% of the time. We have the Ethiopia, which is basically just kind of a neutral brown. We have a black, we have a white, and we have a natural gray, which is basically just a very, very light gray. Now, if I do any colors in between that, what I'll do is I'll fog my edges with the color that's going to be most predominant in the finish that I'm doing. So in this case, I'm going to have a lot of dark colors. So I wanted to fog my edges with the black. Now, why do I just fog my edges instead of the whole board? If you're doing an opaque finish, now this will only work if you're doing an opaque finish. If you're doing a transparent finish, it's not going to work. But if you're going to be tinting your epoxy opaquely with either dyes or mica powders or paste or whatever, you can get away with just doing your edges. Because when epoxy starts to self-level, and it starts to roll over the edges. What the thinnest part of the whole piece, the thinnest epoxy is going to be on your edges, because as your epoxy flows and it flows over, because it's very fluid and it runs, your edges and your corners are going to be very thin. So you'll be able to see through that epoxy. No matter how opaque you make them, you'll be able to kind of see a little bit of that undertone color. So by painting them just the edges with the color that's going to be most predominant, you kind of mask what's actually on the surface. So that's kind of a pro tip. If I were doing, let's say, a blue finish, predominantly blue, and I had already painted my substrate brown, I could fog my edges with a blue, and that way when the epoxy rolled over, you would peekaboo those edges and you would see blue. So, pro tip, you don't have to buy a lot of paint. Okay, so what we're going to be starting off with tonight are several colors. Our first color is our brown opaque dye by Illuminate, available on our website. Black opaque dye. I've got a full cup, so I'm using a total of 12 ounces, okay? So I've got about 4 ounces of the brown, probably about 2.5 ounces of the black. And then I'm coming in with brown mica powder from Stone Coat or Polycolor, available on our website. And then we're going to come in with almond. Almond is a just resin product available on our website and also at artisttilldeath.com. Just resin is a paste, and if you've never used a paste before, they are amazing. Very interchangeable. If you don't have almond, you can substitute it with the dark bronze mica powder that you get on my website as well, and it's almost the exact color. So you can substitute either the almond or the dark bronze. Now, the reason I like to switch up between paste and mica powders and dyes is because when I put this all on the board and start kind of melding and pushing those together, because they're different products, they're going to start fighting and really cause some really cool effects. Then our last color is pale gold. It is also a just resin product. Now, I do have a little bit of copper mica powder, but I'm not really sure I'm going to use it yet because it is very much in the same kind of family as our brown. So we're going to see if we're going to add that or not. All right, so we'll save that for later. Okay, so here we go. Now this is going to be a striated pattern, meaning everything that we do is going to be in straight lines. So it's very important that your surface be very level, because what'll happen is if it's not, and you start doing this finish, within just a little bit, it's going to telltale on you, and you're going to start, your lines are going to start shifting towards whichever way it's leaning. So make sure that you are level. Okay, so we're going to start with the brown. It doesn't matter. You don't have to start with the brown. And we're going to just start kind of laying them out in a striated pattern. Some areas have a little more of the brown. Some have a little less of the brown. So I have big pockets, and that's okay. That's just going to give us some really cool depth. Then I'm going to come in with the black. Now, you guys aren't going to be able to see the difference between the black and the brown on camera, but it does create some depth when you see it under different lights and in real life. All right, so we got the brown, the black, I'm going to leave a little bit in that cup. All right, now we're going to come in with our almond. So we got everybody, we got all our regulars out there? Kenny?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's seems to be out there. Same. I saw some new people too.
Awesome. All right, so I'm sure, has anybody asked what I have in my cup yet?
Nope, nobody's asked that yet.
What? Well, I happen to have a cup of Messinahoff, which is a wine from Texas, and one of my lovely students gave it to me from our last class that we had this past weekend, and it was a fabulous class, guys. It was a full packed class, and we had so much fun. Learned a lot and met a lot of great friends and added to the RK3 Design family. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna hold off on the copper for right now. Now we're coming in with the pale. The last one that I just put on was the brown.
What's up, Dan? Dan's first time.
Oh, hey, Dan. Where are you from, Dan? Now we're coming in with the gold, the pale gold. So I really like this gold. It's not a brassy gold or a super, super shiny gold that's gonna kind of take over your finish. It's really a pretty, pretty gold. Almost like a brushed, almost like a pale gold. Imagine that. All right. So I'm going to take my hand and I'm just going to start melding. Now, as I meld, I want to make sure that I'm not over mixing my colors. Because what I don't want to do is over meld these colors and end up making one color. That's why it's real important to keep it in a striation, meaning you don't want to do this, okay? You want everything in a line, and you're going to push it over the edge until you get it all on the board. Now, doing a striation, let me explain what your edges are going to look like. Now, your edges on either end are going to look amazing, because all that's happening is that color is going to run off and keep that striated pattern as it runs off either end. Now, the ends that are running parallel to our striation, those edges are the ones we have to address. Because what's going to happen as we start dragging our stick and making our wood grain is everything within about an inch of this edge right here is going to get out of that striated pattern and start rolling over the edge. And of course, it's going to lose its striation because it's now running vertical. Hope that made some sense. And I forgot to get paper towels. Okay, so what we're going to do is, as we start running our striations back and forth, we understand that anything that's within this 1 inch is going to eventually lose its striated pattern. So what we do is, as the epoxy starts to set up, I mean, it can even be almost 30, 45 minutes, we will come back and we will re-striate right on those edges to bring back that striation. What I also like to do is, when I do any kind of pattern like this, where I'm kind of doing a wood grain, I will do my edges, and I'll create not really a rock edge, but a textured edge with our grinder and Bondo. And what I'll do is, instead of making a really hard chiseled edge, we'll kind of just use that grinder and maybe even put striated lines with our grinder and then come back with Bondo. And then what we'll do is we'll take our hand and with our fingers apart, you just kind of drag your fingers through that Bondo. Now you've created little striations on your edges. Thank you. Little striations, almost looks like bark. So now, as those striated lines start to roll over your edge, it's going to get caught in all of that texture and it's going to look very, very organic. I also will come back after my epoxy has dried for 24 hours. I'll actually come back and put a glaze on that edge and it'll really make that edge pop. And I have several videos where I show you guys how to do a glaze. All right, so now all I'm doing is taking a popsicle, actually it's a tongue depressor. Don't use the popsicle sticks. I know it's kind of silly. Even though this is a tiny popsicle stick, it's actually thicker than the tongue depressor. I know y'all can't see that. But the tongue depressor actually makes finer lines. So I like to use the tongue depressor. And also, I kind of stand sideways, and I know this is kind of silly. I stand sideways because I'm able to then make my lines really straight as opposed to standing here and making little rainbows, all right? So I like to kind of stand, and then that way I can get really straight lines. Now, if you're doing a 16-foot countertop, this can get rather tedious to go back and forth, back and forth. What you can do is, and don't laugh at me, but you can get a kitty cat pooper scooper. That, of course, it's going to be a new one, but they're about this wide, and they have little teeth in them, okay? So then you can take that pooper scooper, and you can drag it, and you can make big rows of striated lines. You can also get a dustpan, a really cheap dustpan from the dollar store, and you can just cut it with some scissors and create teeth, and you can take that dustpan and run those lines. Just about anything that you want to do. Now you're not going to want to take a trowel because the trowel is only 1/8 of an inch tall, and it's going to push too much of your product as you try to make your striations. So don't take something that's really, really short, okay? You want something that's really going to dig down into your epoxy. Okay, so we're just going to keep making this striation. And as the epoxy and these mica powders and the paste all start to kind of fight, they are actually creating a wood grain almost all on their own. So you really don't even have to do a whole lot. Make sure that as you drag, you're dragging all the way to the edge so that epoxy kind of goes off the edge. And like I told you earlier, it's creating your end caps are going to be beautiful because that striation is going to be falling down there. So I do think I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of the copper. You could see ever so often there's that brown, but I'm going to add a little bit of the copper here. So I'm just going to come back in, and I'm not going to add it
Ron,
everywhere. Yes.
I'm going to turn off the overhead light and just see if that helps.
Okay, so we're going to try to see so you guys can see.
Because all I see is your reflection.
It's really hard to capture, guys, dark colors. So we're going to see if this works a little bit better. So we turned off the shop lights, and we just have our photography lights or whatever those are called. All right, can y'all see a little bit better? Let Kenny know if you can see a little better, being a little bit darker. I hope y'all can see because I can't see a thing. All right, so I'm just going to keep dragging and dragging. All right. Now, as soon as we mix mica powders into epoxy, as soon as we put those mica particles into epoxy and we stir them, they're immediately starting to sink in our epoxy, okay? So what's happening here is as soon as I pour all of this out and I start dragging my stick, it looks amazing, okay? It's so pretty. But if I were to walk off and come back and say 30 or 45 minutes, what's happened is that those particles of mica powders have now sunk or are in the process of sinking. So my finish will start to kind of look flat. And it's pretty, it's soft. You're not going to have really distinct striated lines like you do when you first drag your stick. So what I'll do a lot of times if I'm trying to create that wood tone is I'll drag my stick and then I'll wait maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll re-drag it. And that's going to bring and wake up all of those mica powders so that they get vivid again. Obviously, in this case, I'm not going to wait because we're on a live. But it does really kind of revitalize all of that mica powder. Now, this is really pretty all on its own. But obviously, we are going to go to the next step.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to ask you to go get me a torch, please. I had everything ready but my paper towels and my torch. All right, so I'm going to have Kenny, when he gets back, I'm going to have him kind of do a little flyover. And that way you guys can kind of see what it looks like before we go to the next step. Now, if I were to just walk away, if I were satisfied with this finish, I would walk away 30 minutes or so. I would come back and I would re-drag my stick through the epoxy, especially on my edges, and it would revitalize it, okay? So you could see kind of very, very, very distinct colors, very, very pretty. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I have a lot of people ask me about petrified wood. So petrified wood is caused by pressure, and it causes the striations in the earth to kind of shift. Y'all didn't know I was a geologist, did you? Or whatever ologist that studies all that stuff. Y'all didn't know I was that, huh? All right, so what I'm going to do, let's create some movement. I'm very striated right now, okay? That kind of sounded bad. I'm very striated. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt. Now, obviously, if you're doing this on an on-site pour, meaning you're not fabricating your countertops or you're pouring on a surface that can't be moved, this is going to be kind of tough. But if you're doing a tabletop or a countertop that you've fabricated and you have the ability to tilt, this is a really cool way to get some movement. All right, so I'm going to only heat up a couple of spots, all right? So I'm going to heat up right here, and I'm going to heat up right here. So now when I tilt, those areas are going to move faster. Than the rest. Now I've created just a little bit of movement. Now, let me look at this right here. Show them this right here. Look how pretty that is. Doesn't that look like it's just like slate that's moved? Sediment, I guess. I'm not a very good geologist, I guess. Oh well, I'll stick to epoxy. Okay, so look at that. Now, what I want you to notice, because I hit this area right here with heat, and there's mica powders in there, I have caused the epoxy, whatever thickening has happened over the short period of time that I've put this on top of the table, when I hit it with that heat, I have now just taken it back a few steps and made it very fluid again. So this part here is starting to thicken, but because I hit this little streak right here with heat, I've caused it to be fluid, but I've also heated it and caused my mica powders to sink. So that's why you're getting that look of that flattening out of the colors, which I like. I think that's really cool, and it adds dimension. But you can see exactly where I torched it, and I like that. Now I want to be really careful and make sure I don't do lines so that when I back up, it looks like I have a zebra. So I want to be very careful when I do that. Now, if you come in here and say, you know what, yuck, I just really don't like all this, very easy to come back in and restriate it. This is a very, very forgiving technique, because if you don't like it, like I said, just go back in there and restriate it. And that's doing two things. You're bringing back your original striations, and you're also waking up that mica powder to come back up and to be very vivid again. Look at the difference. This I restriated, and this I didn't touch. So you can see the difference. Now I tell you another fun thing that you can do, and you'll do this with a torch as well, is after you've done your striations, let's go ahead and straighten these out a little bit more. They'll kind of come all the way to the edge. Now watch what happens when I run that torch in a striation. Watch the look it gives. Now you want to be careful not to burn it. Now I've softened it down, and I've caused those really hard lines to get very, very soft. So they're not as distinct, and I really like how it softens that pattern. But I've softened it this way, in a striation this way, instead of going across the striations this way. Now, if I were to leave it alone and not touch it at all, it's going to continue to move a little bit, but it's going to keep this softer look. All right, again, if I don't like it, I can come back and I can restriate it. Now, you don't want to striate it too much, because as I striate it, I'm still mixing these colors more and more together, and I'm not going to have the distinct color variation that I had when I started. All right. Okay, very cool. All right, let's see. I have a little bit of brown left, so I'm going to re-drag some of that brown in there. Now, because my epoxy is starting to thicken up in my cup, now when I add it in, this is the gold. Now when I add it in, I'm going to be real select on how I drag it. And you're going to have little pockets. See those pockets of color. There. Now look at that. Isn't that pretty? What I should have done is mixed up some glitter in some clear, and I could have put that glitter and run that glitter through here, and that would have been gorgeous. All right, so I really like that. What do y'all think about that? Isn't that pretty?
They want to know about knots.
Okay, I knew that was coming, and I forgot to bring a, here, I'll just do this. Okay, so usually I do my knots with a skewer. I didn't get my skewer, so I just broke my piece. Now, for knots, you don't want to do this until your epoxy has set up to where it's almost, and I'm going to give you guys a visual, almost honey. Visualize honey, okay? It's very stringy, okay? Not honey in the fridge, because then it's not going to move. But you want honey that's just room temperature, nice and thick. Because if I try to put a knot when I first pour all this epoxy on the countertop, when my epoxy is basically in its infancy stage, very, very fluid. As soon as I put that knot, it's going to look gorgeous for about 4 minutes. Then it's going to not be there anymore. That knot is not going to be there anymore.
Not at all.
Not at all. And so we want to wait till it sets up. And we know that epoxy is going to be at a stage where whatever I do in it, it's going to stay. All right, so there's a couple of ways to do knots. You can get the dye, which is my least favorite, because anytime you put epoxy, more epoxy on the surface, because your epoxy is trying to self-level as soon as you put it on the surface, by putting more epoxy, it's going to widen out. But I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. All right, so let's go ahead. I've got black. I'm going to put a little bit of black, and then I'm going to run it, okay? And then I'm going to run that out either way. All right, now that's kind of cool looking. My favorite way of doing it is with spray paint. I'm going to put a little spray paint on the table. Take it up on my stick. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start in a small circle and I'm going to get bigger. Okay? I can bring in some more paint. Use that tip. And then you're going to just drag it out. Okay? Now, if you look at a piece of wood and you look at a knot, you'll see that the grain goes around the knot. Okay? And then as it gets farther and farther out, it gets a little more linear until you get out and you're just at a striation again. So if you'll come in here and kind of go around and around, and then start to flatten it out as you get farther out, you'll give that knot a little bit more of a realistic look. Now we're still very fresh, so this knot is not going to stay. Okay, that's not going to stay like that because we did it a little bit too early. So I'm going to come back now with some brown. That, remember, we started with black. I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this. I don't know if y'all can see the 2 distinct colors, black and the brown. I can even come in with a little bit of, let's see, this is a little bit, that was the brown dye. This is the brown opaque, this is the brown mica powder. So I'm just building and building. There. All right. Now know that this is still going to keep moving because my epoxy is still very fluid. Now, you don't want to add heat at this point. If I come in and start really torching a lot, I'm going to make all of this move. But I've got a few little bubbles, so I'm going to hit it just a little bit. All right, so that's how you would create knots. Are you making everybody drunk?
I'm trying to get that. I hit the button while trying to do all this.
Okay. Can you guys see? I know it's kind of dark in here.
Yeah.
So, can they see? Okay, good. Because I can't see what I'm doing. All right. Okay, so This, again, is a really cool finish. But we're going to go some more steps. And I hate to tell you guys, but we're going to get rid of the knots. But we're just going to put stuff on top of it. Okay, so now let's take it to the next step. All right, so we're going to go a little Allen Chambers effect on this. And we're going to add some hammered, I forget the color. It's just called hammered gold. Okay, it's a hammered spray paint. All right, now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add it fairly thick because we want this to react with our epoxy. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to spray it fairly thick, and I'm not going to do it everywhere, okay? All right, and then immediately you're going to come in with your stick and you're going to start dragging. Now you can also, instead of a stick, where did I do my Bondo spreader? Oop, I know I brought one. You see my Bondo spreader? Nope.
No.
All right, so you're immediately going to come in and start dragging. And it's going to start making some really cool reactions. Now you have to do this really quick. If not, your paint is going to start clumping, kind of like it's doing. But you can hit that with a little bit of heat and it'll help it to, those clumps to go away. All right, so I'm going to hit it with a little bit of heat. Now, that hammered paint, thank you, babe. All right, so I'm going to come in. The reason I like a Bondo spreader is because this is where I like to kind of take my Bondo spreader and twist it as I drag it, and it gives a really cool look. So zoom in, Kenny, how I'm doing my Bondo spreader. So on my Bondo spreader, I'm taking it and I'm dragging it, and as I'm dragging it, I'm twisting it. So I'm kind of dragging, I really can't see. So I'm kind of dragging that paint and causing a really cool look. Now, since I didn't do it over the entire surface, as I'm dragging it, I'm kind of pulling it into the area that I didn't spray and just taking a little bit of that color into that. See that? Wow, that's pretty. So look at it before I hit it with the Bondo spreader when I just drug it with a stick. See how it's kind of, that right there is really pretty also. But I'm going to take it and because I'm twisting and turning my Bondo spreader as I go up, it's causing that really cool effect. All right, let me hit it with a torch really quick just to get some of those bubbles, because I'm really starting to entrain quite a bit of bubbles because I'm chopping it, okay? So I'm going to very quickly get rid of the bubbles. Now, my epoxy is about almost an hour old since I mixed it, because I mixed it about 15 minutes before we started. So it's starting to really set up, and I love it. This is the fun stage that I love. Now, look at that. Look at what the hammered spray paint does to when you mix it in with those mica powders and that paste and those dyes. Is that not gorgeous? I love that. See, look, y'all, I didn't even tear up y'all's knot right there. I left it there. So y'all like this? Give me a thumbs up or give me a something.
Thumbs up. They can give you thumbs up.
Can y'all give me hearts? I don't think can you do thumbs up? I guess you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So let me know if y'all like this. I think this is look at this right here. Holy cow. This right here is money. right? Can you imagine doing this whole countertop like we did and doing 1 or 2 veins like down the middle with this right here? That right there that's your moneymaker right there, guys. And you saw how super easy that was. And all that is the gold hammered spray paint over the top of our mica powders and our paste. Okay, now I'm going to show you one other technique that's so much fun, and I don't know what, here it is. All right, so you're going to want it, before you do this particular technique, you're going to want to let your epoxy set for another, probably 10 or 15 minutes until, this is what you're looking for. You can test it on your table, on your drips. But you want your epoxy, we're about there. You want, when you lift up your finger, you want that sticky, that string to stay about 1/2 inch or so. Here, it's still a little bit fluid. Okay, can y'all see what I'm doing? It's still a little fluid. I would like that string right there to stay a little longer before it breaks. Only go about 1/2 inch or an inch. No, about, what's that, about 1/2 inch? Yeah, about 1/2 inch. So we're still a little bit fluid to do what I want to show you. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this. But on this end, you know how I always tell you guys, if you mess up and you don't, you just hate it, black spray paint fixes everything. So we're going to see what happens, all right? I don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to find out. But I want to save this for later, okay? So we're just going to do it to that one edge. All right, so I'm going to come in with black gloss, and we're going to raise my arm up here because I keep reaching over here. We're going to just put some black over the top. Now, it's not super opaque, meaning I can still see through, and we're going to start dragging and waking up. Actually, I'm going to use my Bondo spreader. We're going to drag our Bondo spreader. Now remember, when I use that Bondo spreader, I drag and twist, drag and twist. Now you don't want to twist so much that you cause all that epoxy to move off your substrate. So anytime I get mad at my piece or it's not turning out how I want it to turn out, I put black spray paint on it and I make something fun. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, I can't even see it. All right, so let me heat it with the torch. Now, if you're looking for a dark finish, this does look sort of cool. You have darkened it, and it does look really neat. Let's hit it with a little bit of alcohol. All right, so I'm going to put some alcohol in my hands just because I don't want to hit the whole piece. And I'm just going to flick. There. Let's see what that looks like. Now you're going to have to give it some time because it's going to kind of get a hammered effect. Now that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Yeah, that looks really neat. Now you got to wait because this alcohol is going to dissipate and it's going to cause some really cool effects. I like that. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you this other cool little technique that looks really neat, especially on a wood grain. So you're going to take a popsicle or a tongue depressor, and you want the big one, okay? Because it really does look better. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop. We're gonna go down, and as we chop, we're gonna sort of turn, and we're gonna be very random with this. Okay, now here's what I want you to, very random. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. We're gonna do this in slow motion. So when I push it down into the epoxy, watch when I lift it up. See those little strings? Okay? As soon as you lift it up, twist it. So those little strings create these little tiny, tiny, micro thin little fracture lines. So by putting them down and twisting and dragging, you're creating those little lines right there. Now, how cool does that look? And on a wood grain, if you did this, and I'm not going to hit that knot, by gosh, I'm going to leave that darn knot there. It made a liar out of me because I thought it was going to already dissipate. But look how cool that looks in a wood grain. Okay, I'm not going to touch this, but I'm going to come on this side of that little vein, and I'm going to do that. Now you want to make sure you're not real patterned, that you're very random with this, okay? So don't make it all the same. Meaning don't go chop it like this and then chop it like this. Make sure you move that stick around. There. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Wow, wow, wow. Look at that yumminess right here. Look at that. Now, if I hit that with too much heat, all of that yumminess right here is going to go away. Too much heat is going to cause our epoxy to go backwards. And it's going to get very fluid. What do y'all think about that? Y'all like that?
Yep.
Okay, so I really, honestly, I love that black. I think that is gorgeous because you can't judge it when you first do it. You have to let the epoxy and your spray paint duke it out, and then when you add that alcohol, that's adding a third fighter, and now they're all three fighting, so you've got to decide who's going to win. This is stunning. So I really like all three. Now my favorite part is still this little vein right here. I think that is just gorgeous. So when I torch, you see how fast I torch? Really quick, get in and get out and just pop those surface bubbles. What do y'all think?
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Love it. All right, that is so pretty. Guys, when you do wood grain or a striation with a bunch of different metallic earth tone colors, browns, almond, copper, all of those, when those mix and become in a striations and they become next to each other, they're absolutely stunning. Now I'll tell you another color, and I almost did it. I don't know why I didn't, I should have. If you were to do this and then add either Purple Mountain mica powder or not both, or and like an olive green, we have a beautiful olive green, stunning. Holy cow, it is
Oh, I bet
so
the olive
pretty.
green would look
The
good.
olive green is absolutely amazing. I was gonna see if I had olive green spray paint, but I think
so. The only thing that would
Yeah.
be close would be the oregano. Huh?
yeah, and I think we're already
Yeah.
at a point where it's our epoxy's starting to set up too much. It's not gonna react. So, do y'all like this? Can y'all see it? Y'all tell me what y'all's favorite part is. Let me know. Is it the part where we did the black spray paint? Is it the part right here where we just did a lot of the little micro fractures? Or do you like this vein? This almost looks like alligator, doesn't it?
Almost.
So, let me know what y'all think.
How about some thumbs up?
How about some hearts? How about
Thumbs
some
up.
hearts out there? All right, guys, and also share this live, guys. You can do that. Once we post it, you can actually share this. I think you may be able to share it while we're doing it, while we're actually doing the live. That's not, I don't know. That's a question for our moderators. They may know. So, couple of announcements. We are extending our free shipping and same day shipping.
Ooh.
If ordered before noon Central Time. There is a disclosure there. So our free shipping are for orders over $100, which is not hard to do, guys, if you're buying epoxy. So, and it really does get there quickly. I think the longest it takes our shipments to get anywhere is 3 days. And I would say 80% get there in 2 days. And about 20% of the people, especially if you live in Texas, will get it the next day. So we pride ourselves in getting you guys your product as soon as possible. Also, we have the new Insiders group, RK3 Design Epoxy Insiders. It is growing by leaps and bounds. Oh my gosh. And we also have some amazing moderators there. We also have Erica and Vamp and Clara. We have Keith McGinnis. Thank you, Keith. And Keith, the countertop that you are doing right now, very interesting. Can't wait to see when it's finished. And Alan Chambers, he is our moderator as well. And these guys, y'all, every one of them are masters at their craft. So when they give you advice, guys, I stand behind whatever they're telling you. I really do. I have so much confidence in all of the people that surround me and help me do what I do. And believe me, I don't do this all by myself. There's so many people that help me, and I appreciate every single one of them. Okay, also check out my YouTube channel. Don't just watch the lives, y'all. Go watch all my videos and give me a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe to our channel. All right, all of these products that we used tonight, I believe, yes, all these products you can buy on our website. Now, if I'm out of the Just Resin products and we're actually working on adding some Color Passion and Color Obsession, Resin Art, all of those products. Actually, we met with our social media team today and have given them all the photos so they can start uploading. Now, I want to show you this, y'all. You know what this is? Look, it's not a paddle. I don't use it to beat my husband. I could whack. It is
Hey, can I ask why you still have the paper on it?
Well, because this is one I haven't used yet. So I was gonna say I was gonna sell it, but I guess I can't now because I have epoxy on it.
It's filthy dirty.
So when you get this, you're going to pull the paper off, okay? Either side has paper.
Both sides have paper.
Both sides, what I meant.
Not either.
I meant both sides. Both sides help. You decided to perk up all of a sudden, huh?
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you out so you don't look.
Yeah, helping me. You're helping me. So both sides of this has paper. So you want to pull the paper off, and then it's clear. You can see through it. It's a stirrer. Well, I don't have a bucket, and I'm not about to put it in my wine. But if I did, you could stir it in your bucket, and what's really cool is because of the way the handle's shaped, you can get right up next to that edge and stir it. Then you can use it as a trowel.
So you're saying it's ergonomic?
It's what?
Ergonomic.
Do you even know what that word means?
Yeah.
Okay, it's that word that he just used.
Ergonomic.
1/8 by 1/8 square notch trowel. Trowel it out. Stir, trowel, all the things. Then squirt it with a little bit of alcohol, wipe it off, and boom, you are good to go for the next pour. So we do have those
So
on
you don't
our
have
site.
to throw it away, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't have to throw it away. Well, I mean, we don't throw our trowels away either, but
No.
those are really easy to clean. We have them on our sites now.
Is it called the all-in-one tool?
No, it's called a trowel, an acrylic trowel. I don't know what we call them. I guess we call them
It could be an all-in-one.
an all-in-one, all-in-one and one for all.
Yeah.
Anyway, and if we run out of those or just resin products, go check out Erica's website, artisttilldeath.com, and she'll have all of those, plus about 9 million more colors.
Just so you know, it's called a trowel stick.
Trowel stick. Did Erica just tell you that?
Claire. Just
Clara.
Put on the...
Okay, good.
The
so
link.
That's what it is. And if you go to Artist Till Death, use coupon code RK and then the number 3. Okay? Should give you a little discount. Alrighty, guys. Well, I guess that's it. Do we have any questions that our amazing moderators didn't answer? I doubt it because they're on it.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't
guys.
have to worry about that.
I am so glad
Thumbs up
to be
would
back.
be nice.
Give us some love, y'all. I love this finish. I'm so glad to
Can
be
we
back
get
with
60
you.
thumbs up? That's what I want.
60?
All we need is 3 more.
3
Rip.
more?
57.
Come on, guys. Give us 3 more thumbs up.
There's 1.
Okay.
Oh, we did it.
We
Thank you,
did it.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
1.
Until next time, next week, remember, don't be scared. Move forward. No matter what, move forward. And always be creative. All right. Love you. See you next week. Bye.
Adios.